Today's Tips du Jour mailbag question comes to us from Minnesota. Robert, I am using a small convex plane and need to sharpen it. Can you explain how this is done? Keith in Minnesota. Keith, probably you're using the Ibex small mini plane or palm plane. This is a very useful tool, especially when carving plates like in mandolins or archtop guitars. Recently I was in Brazil visiting with Brazilian Luthier João Cassias, who happens to make archtop guitars, very beautiful archtop guitars, and he uses this plane quite a bit. While I was there, I had my camera with me, and he showed a very simple technique for sharpening these plane blades. So let's drop into João's shop, and he'll show us how it's done. Hi, I'm here in São Paulo, Brazil with João Cassias of Cassias Guitars. And João has a very interesting way of sharpening convex plane blades. And John's willing to show us how to do it. I called you John, but
yeah,
actually
sure.
João.
Sure, you're better.
João in Portuguese. So João is going to show us how to sharpen convex plane blades.
The first problem I faced doing archtop guitars and carved top guitars is right after you receive the finger plane or whatever plane you decide to use, you have it sharp. So right after a couple hours of use, the plane is dull, so you have to resharpen it. The problem is, this is not a straight edge, it's curved edge, it's convex edge. And now I developed a technique, a simple technique to aid me on the process of making this edge true and very sharp, to the point where you can shave yourself. Well, this is the simple setup I just gathered to solve my problem with sharpening the knives. It's just a simple jig from Veritas, a honing guide, the cheapest one, a Sharpie pen, felt pen marker, the plane blade, and the body and the blade holder. The first step is to score the plane knife with the felt marker, so it will aid me throughout the process. This way I'll know if I am making it right or wrong as far as matching the angle of the sole of the plane. The next step is just to find an adjustment that will suit the amount of material that will be taken off. Just before we start, I am using a Veritas guide, but you can use anything really. It's just a simple jig with a roller bearing and a homemade, handmade honing guide will do just as well. Right now I just made a few tryouts here, and after a couple passes the felt mark was gone. So now I know my angle is right. I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna just start with the 800 grit Japanese waterstone, and right after I'm gonna go for the 4000, right after the 8000 to finish up and burnish it and polish it. The trick is not to stay in the same place for a long time. So right after a few shots here, I move it around, I curve it around like 3 times, curve it a little bit more, 3 times. And what you're gonna have, it's a surface that's not perfectly convex, but it will sure do a perfect job maintaining the angle that you need for a sharp edge. Just to have a better idea of what I'm talking about, the movement that I do is just pushing a little bit left or right according to the angle you're going to achieve with my thumbs here. So this way you get a very nice convex edge instead of a flat one. 3 times, skew it a little bit with my thumbs. You get the idea. So at this stage I made all the process with the 800, the 4000, which is the underweight in the underside here, and now I'm going to finish it up with the 8000 grit Norton combination waterstone. Well, after a little bit of work, that's all it is. Let's put it back together and see if it works. It's approved.
All right, so there you have a very easy way to sharpen a convex blade. Now, while we're on the subject of sharpening, João also has a very interesting technique that he does for his scrapers. John, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's very simple. Most scrapers come in a rectangular format, and mine isn't. The reason behind that is that I digged a lot of guitars in my first time, and my first guitars came out really scratched because of the sharp corners. Now I just round them over, so I prevent digging in the sides while I'm working with it. The process is quite simple. I just take it to the grinder or sander or files if you have the time to do it, and cut the corners off, round them over really smooth to prevent that. Simple. See, as it's rounded on the sides, with this way of sharpening and making it curvy, I don't dig in the sides and scratch the wood when I'm working.
So there you have it, folks. Ways to sharpen a scraper and ways to sharpen the convex plane blade. João, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
For allowing me to visit you here in your shop in São Paulo, Brazil.
My pleasure.
And I look forward to working with you here next week. We're going to do our guitar building course.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be fun.
All right. So Keith in Minnesota, I hope you found this information useful. And remember, always work sharp, and happy building.